Welcome back to All Chiefed Up. I am Steve. I'm here with Mike, and we are going to talk about Brett Veach today. Is he really the genius we think he is, or is he a bit of a clown?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been asking myself for the past few days. This Orlando Brown thing is kind of like culminated for me in my thoughts, and I'll just be driving down the road, and I'm like, is Brett Veach smart or is he an idiot? I don't know. So I guess we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, before we get into it, though, make sure that you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the season starts. Right now, we're at about 620. So we appreciate you guys, but we need to beef it up a little bit. So make sure to tell your friends, share the videos, and all that good stuff. Mike, let's go ahead and jump into this. What do you got for me on Brett Veach?
Okay, so first and foremost, let's just go ahead and get this Orlando Brown no contract news out of the way. Like we said on the previous one, I thought it was going to be a 70% chance maybe we get this done. Boy, was I wrong, because Brett Veach and the Chiefs have now been reported that they offered a 6-year, $139 million contract that was good for $30.25 million signing bonus, and it was going to be $95 million over the first 5 years of the deal. So Chiefs fans are seeing that, and they're just running around being like, he's getting $23 million a year. This is crazy. Orlando Brown, this is insane. What does he think he is?
Well,
but when you look at that contract, it's not that cut and dry.
initially, when you hear that, you are like, what in the world was Orlando Brown doing? He got exactly what he asked for, and he still didn't sign. That's laughable. But like you said, you got to look closer at the contract. They backloaded it to where in year 6, he was going to get $41 million in year 6, which meant they were going to cut him before then.
Yeah, they're not paying that. So It actually comes out closer to what, like 19 million, I guess?
No, it was way lower than that. I think it was around 15 mark when you really did all the
Seriously.
math. Yeah, it was a joke. It's an absolute joke of a contract. Like, they really dropped the ball on trying to make that happen, because they can say they put out a strong effort, but all they did was try to caress the guy's ego and make him think he's getting 23 or $24 million a year or whatever. And I mean, you have to face it, man. It's 2022. These guys aren't going to get fleeced like that. I mean, you got to be an absolute moron to think like, oh, sweet, that's a great deal.
Well, did Brett Veach and them decide to come up with this con artist contract before that he hired an agent and then just didn't rework it before an agent looked at it? Like, an agent's going to call this out instantly.
I don't know. I always wondered why they wait till the last minute to do everything. Like, not only obviously they were waiting on him to maybe get an agent because he decided he wanted an agent and all that stuff, but why is all these talks not taking place like before? You never hear anything about it until like the day of the deadline or something.
Right. So you say it's somewhere around 15 million per year. I averaged up 19 million. I don't know how I got that number. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll just say between 15 and 19 million. Obviously, that does not put him as a top paid left tackle as he wanted. That is probably below the top paid right tackle, to be honest.
By far. Ryan Ramczyk makes 20 million a year.
Okay. So he's not going to sign that. I don't know how you expected him. So this is my question with Veach and with you. Is Veach looking at this and saying, look, he's not going to take this cool 16.6 if he signs the tag? He's yet to do that. It's been reported that he's going to play. He's not signed the tag yet from what I'm seeing. They keep saying he's going to, but he hasn't done it. So it's possible he don't. So I'm just saying they could re-sign him 16.6 on the tag this year. If they don't reach a deal next year, Veach can then put him on the tag again. That what would essentially be 19.9 million. But right. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you traded a first round pick. You paid him this year, whatever contract he was owed, then you're going to give him 16.6 this year. If you don't go up to his demands next year, after he probably comes in and plays and gets better and puts up better numbers, he's going to want more money. And now you're going to sign him again next year on the tag for 19.9. It's very possible he could just play on the tag 2 years, fleece us for like $40+ million and then walk. And then we're left 3 years into this experiment with no left tackle out of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Veach really needed to lock him up before this deadline. He didn't do it. I don't know if it's like some kind of psychological thing, like, oh, he's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder and really ball out this year because they didn't get the contract together, and now he has an opportunity to make an even better contract. I don't know what they were going for, but I think they should have wrapped it up, because we talked about that If he comes out and has a killer year this year and he does prove that he's like a top 5 to top 3 left tackle in the league, then you're really going to have to pull out the checkbook because guess what? Salary caps are going up, all the market's going up. It's going to be a lot more than you think.
Right. So on that note, I went back and looked and I was like, maybe Brett Veach is smart. Maybe he's going to let him play for 16-6. Next year, I went to looking and the free agents for next year for linemen is Quentin Nelson. Of course, he's a guard, but I bet you Quentin Nelson is really sought after and probably resets the market at guard next year. As you said, salary cap's going up. I guarantee Quentin Nelson sets the bar.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Elgton Jenkins from the Packers. He was a Pro Bowler this year. He's going to be a top 10 free agent set. He can play guard or tackle. He's going to require big money. And then, of course, you got DJ Humphries, left tackle from Arizona. He's probably not going to reset the market. But the ones that are coming up on not this year, but next year is Donovan Smith, who's really old. He's not going to do nothing. Taylor Lewan, he's getting pretty old. He's probably not going to do it. But the guy to watch for is Tunsil out of the Texans. He's going to be 29. If he restructures next offseason, he'll be 28. And right now, Tunsil is the second highest paid. He just signed a 3-year, $66 million that averaged $22 million per year. So if he restructures next offseason, he could go to the 22 to somewhere around 24, 25 and reset the market right there. And then what happens to, the Orlando Brown Jr. deal? Like he's going to want more than 24 to 25. So did Veach take a chance on Tunsil's not going to reset the market and the Texans are not going to pay a 29-year-old tackle that much? And he thinks he's got all this time on his side, or I don't know what he's trying to do here. Like I'm with you. I think he should have paid him.
Yeah, I mean, that was really the only option that we had if we wanted a long-term left tackle, because now you've put yourself in a predicament. And like I said earlier, I thought that Orlando Brown had all the leverage to begin with, and I feel like he just got even more. And yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of people wanted to see him play on the tag. That way he can prove himself and prove that he's worth this much money and yada, yada, yada. But then again, we told people in the last video, hey, if you don't like Orlando Brown, you don't want to lock him up long-term, what's your solution? Put it in the comments. We had absolutely zero people to put anything that made sense down there. None. Zero. No one has an answer. Like, people actually still think that we should bring back Eric Fisher, for the love of God. I mean, this guy's a dinosaur. We've talked about this before too. Why do Chiefs fans always want to go backwards? It makes no sense. But yeah, I mean, just go look at the stats for Eric Fisher last season. He was playing in Indianapolis. Carson Wentz doesn't drop back that much. They were handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor all the time, and he still let up double the amount of sacks over Orlando Brown.
Yeah, and he did it in less games because Orlando Brown let up 4 sacks last year, 2 in the regular season and 2 in the postseason. And so if you let up 2 in the postseason, well, the Colts didn't get to the postseason, so he actually let up 4 times the amount of sacks in the same amount of games. It doesn't make any sense. If you look at Orlando Brown, he had an 81% run block win rate, which was the second highest in the NFL. So he's a top 2 run blocker in football. Also, his pass blocking, it did start off a little shaky, but he still only allowed 2 sacks for the whole regular season. And it got better and better every game. Again, he was just now moving to a left tackle. He had just come from Baltimore, where they're designed to run all the time. They rarely drop back like we do. So now he's also playing everybody's number 1 edge rusher on the left side on a new playbook. And the dude done that well. And you guys are out here trying to like crucify him and act like he's the worst player in the history of football. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, you just can't replace Orlando Brown with some moron off the street and expect that I'm going to be comfortable guarding my franchise in Patrick Mahomes. You're out of your mind.
Especially in a season where every team in the AFC West went and loaded up on edge rushers for this specific reason, just to stop Patrick Mahomes.
Right. And I get it. In the playoffs, he didn't look that good. He let up 2 sacks. His PFF grade went from a, what was it in the regular season? Like an 80 something, maybe. Oh, it was a 75.2 in the regular season. And in the postseason, it went down to a 68.7. But let's be honest, it went down a little bit. It wasn't the end of the world. Like, Orlando Brown was not the reason that his 8.7 PFF grade wasn't the reason Patrick Mahomes imploded in the second half of a playoff game to the Bengals.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I'd be willing to bet that one of those sacks weren't even his fault. It was probably in that Bengals game. Patrick Mahomes was running around like a moron back there with all kinds of wide open receivers in that second half.
Exactly. I'd said that too. I was like, Patrick Mahomes, for some reason, was getting so like dance happy in the pocket this year that he was creating so many like problems for himself. He probably caused half the sacks he got this year because he wouldn't sit still. So I don't know. Like, I just think that Chiefs Kingdom has gotten off the rails with this guy. I get it if you don't think that he should have signed this contract or he didn't play up to his standards. But like, again, you don't have anybody else behind him that is reliable. You don't have an option better than him. This is absurd to say to go get Eric Fisher. That is just the most asinine, idiotic thing I've ever heard.
I actually put on Twitter that I think Mitchell Schwartz announced his retirement so they wouldn't throw his name in the mix. He didn't want none of the get this player back BS. He didn't want no part of it.
It's a possibility. I'm even seeing, we drafted Kennard. Dude, Kennard may win the right tackle job. We think he's probably going to take the right tackle job at some point. We think it'll be in camp. He'll get it. But you can't expect a rookie that plays right tackle that probably could be kicked inside the guard. That's the way most are projecting him to now say, hey, go play left tackle. That's the stupidest. I don't think our fans think sometimes. I don't think I hate to say this because I love Chiefs Kingdom, but they're the most like overreactive fan base I've ever seen. Like, it's insane. I'm sure this happens in other fan bases. I just don't pay attention. But there's about 60% of our fan base that is just insane sometimes.
I feel like for all the years of bad football that these guys had to put up with, especially like the older crowd, like they're the quickest ones to just play hardball. Like, oh, well, cut him, cut his butt. We're done. We don't need him. It's like, obviously you do need him because y'all had that mentality and you've been playing with, Todd Haley's crew.
Right. We had Eric Fisher under the years we sucked.
We took Eric Fisher number 1 in the NFL draft, folks. Come on.
Yeah, that may have possibly been one of the worst number 1 round picks ever. I mean, not saying we had a lot to choose from, but come on.
It was a bad draft altogether, but yeah, still.
So on the point too, is Brett Veach brilliant or is he Bozo the Clown? So we have that thrown into it. We have the whole Orlando Brown thing. I think Veach needed to have signed Orlando Brown this year and been like, hey, we overpaid him a little bit in your eyes, but after our coaching gets, and he gets a claim to the position in 3, 4, 5 years, he's going to be dominant and I got a steal on him. That would have solidified his brilliance. But instead now, if something happens this year and we can't get this guy locked up, now Brett Veach just traded a number 1 pick and a bunch of stuff for like nothing. And so I went back and looked, and in that trade, we actually did get for the Orlando Brown trade, we got a 2nd round pick in which we used to get Nick Bolton. That turned out pretty well.
Look, if it wasn't for that, and it wasn't for the fact that Baltimore didn't get anyone but Jason Owe, they could really say they ripped him on that deal. But just the only reason is because Jason Owe is the only thing they really got from it, and we got Nick Bolton. The fact that Veach hit on Nick Bolton in the draft, that kind of helped him in this situation.
Right. And so what's another trade Veach has made? He did trade DeAndre Washington, the backup running back from Texas Tech that we had. He traded him for a 6th round pick, number 208 in the 2021 draft. And we got Trey Smith out of that pick. That is an A+++ trade.
Right.
Okay. He traded Yasir Durant for a round 7, number 243 for this year's draft, in which we took Jalen Watson, but the very next pick, we took Pacheco. So technically those two could have been, vice versa, according to their board. So, I mean, looking back on that trade, Durant for a Pacheco is a pretty good deal, probably, is what that's going to pan out for. And then, of course, the Tyreek Hill trade, we got a lot of capital out of Tyreek Hill. It's remained to be seen, but one of those picks, we did trade up to get McDuffie on. So McDuffie's got a little bit of that going. And then another pick we traded back and we got Sky Moore. So those 2 picks, for Tyreek, the jury's out. But that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I'm looking back at all the stuff Veach has done. He's done a lot of good, but I think that this Orlando Brown deal and people saying that the Ravens are fleecing him, I think it all hinged on the fact that we didn't get a deal done with Orlando Brown. I believe if he gets it done, I believe everybody said, "Oh, Brett Veach overpaid him," but I believe in 4 or 5 years we don't look at that. We say, "Wow, he got a deal."
Right. I think Orlando Brown's going to perform. Like, I don't know if, like I said earlier, maybe they're thinking if they let him play on the tag, they're going to get a big year out of him and then they pay him. But regardless, like we talked about a million times, if they would have wrapped him up long term now, still get the performance out of him, it's going to be a lot cheaper in the long run. Because I'm telling you, if he comes out and has a huge year next year, and then we can't come to an agreement on another one, and then he has to go on the tag again and has another huge year, he's gone. There's no way we're going to be able to pay the dude.
Right. So, guys, that's about all we got on the Brett Veach thing. Is he brilliant or is he a bozo? Put it down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Like, I'm genuinely curious. I think the jury's out for me. I sort of lean to the brilliant side, but I really think this Orlando Brown deal hinged on that. And now it's remaining to be seen. There's a lot of things out still with Brett Veach. So put that down in the comments and let's talk about it. Steve, you got anything else?
He's a genius. All right, guys, make sure to hit that like button and also hit subscribe. We have a lot of people watching, not a whole lot subscribing. We're trying to get to 1,000 before the season starts. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, share videos with your friends. Let them know where to catch the best Chiefs content on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. That way you know when we come out with new stuff. And we'll catch you next time, Chiefs Kingdom.
Yeah.
Baby, you're the one for me. Baby, you were meant for me. I'm madly in love with you.